Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session, Make the Case for Healthy Students in Schools, Improving Academic Achievement Through Healthy Eating and Physical Activity. My name is Amy Moyer. I'm the Vice President of Field Operations at Action for Healthy Kids, and I'll be your moderator today. We're very excited to present to you with some fruitful information that will really help you take specific actions in schools. Before we get into that detail, I'd like to share with you real quickly some logistics on how to use our webinar technology. You see on your screen that you have a control panel on your right-hand side. All of the attendees for today's session are in muted only mode, and that's just to ensure that all listeners have a good learning experience. Submit a question through the question box using your control panel. You can enter your questions throughout the call. We will have about 15 minutes towards the end of the session to take your questions. And if we aren't able to get to the questions, we'll be able to follow up with you through email. Make sure you have all the information you need. Today's call is being recorded, so sit back and relax. You don't have to take notes fast and furiously. It is being recorded. We will send out the slides. We will send out the archived session, and we will send out some of the resources that are mentioned during today's call. So hopefully this gives you a chance to sit back, relax, and listen to all the great information we have to share with you today. You can see here that we have several objectives. First, we'd like to describe the evidence supporting the link between healthy eating, physical activity, and improved academic achievement, and CDC is going to lead that session, as well as identify key messages and benefits of addressing healthy eating and physical activity in schools. We'll conclude by talking through specific actions that you can take to support healthy eating and physical activity in schools and identify the resources that you can use to take those specific actions. So your speakers today are Shannon Michael from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Division of Population Health, the School Health Branch. He serves as the lead for the Youth Physical Activity and Physical Education initiatives. Shannon develops science-based guidance and provides content expertise and technical assistance on strategies to improve physical education in schools and support physical activity among youth. So Shannon's going to cover a lot of the latest evidence that supports health and academic achievement. You're also going to hear from Lorraine Bandelli, who's the Manager of Health and Wellness Partnerships and Evaluation from the GENYOUth Foundation. Dr. Bandelli serves as a leading voice and champion for GENYOUth Foundation's work in school wellness and their flagship program, Field to Play 60. She directs the Foundation's national thought leadership strategy, which includes planning and execution of events, public fundraising. Lorraine's going to cover a lot of great information about the resources that GENYOUth has to offer, including some funding strategies to help schools make specific inroads on health and wellness activities. Then again, my name is Amy Moyer. I'm the Vice President of Field Operations at Action for Healthy Kids. Action for Healthy Kids is a national grassroots partnership that was really primarily focused on addressing the epidemic of overweight, undernourished, and sedentary youth by focusing on changes at school. We've put a lot of effort into planning a good agenda for you today. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Shannon to talk through the evidence.
Thank you, Amy. It's great to be a part of today's webinar on the connection between health and academic achievement. We know a lot of people are interested in this topic based on just how many people have registered for today's webinar, and this is very, very exciting. It gives me hope that the information shared today will be used, and I'm optimistic that it will equip you to make the case for healthy schools and students in your community. So many of you are in schools, so you know that this is an ideal setting for students to learn about health and healthy behaviors. We need to share the message that health is academic, because helping young people stay healthy is a fundamental part of the mission of our schools. There is evidence that healthy behaviors are associated with improved academic achievement, and that school health programs can address students' health needs and prepare them to be ready to learn. Next slide. Dr. Charles Bash demonstrates these 3 points I just made in the previous slide in his 2010 report, Healthier Students Are Better Learners. He states that no matter how well teachers are prepared to teach, no matter what accountability measures are put in place, no matter what governing structures are established for schools, educational progress will be profoundly limited if students are not motivated and able to learn. Health-related problems play a major role in limiting the motivation and ability to learn. He's saying that we need to address these health-related problems kids face in schools, such as not eating breakfast and not having opportunities to be physically active, if we want them to succeed academically. Now, we can't place the burden on schools to address all these health-related problems, but there are evidence-based and promising approaches that can be applied to address the health issues of students and ensure that they're able to learn and be successful. Next slide. The new whole school, whole community, whole child model depicts a promising approach to addressing health-related problems in schools. As health and education professionals, we need to get behind and support this new model. The model combines and builds on elements of the traditional coordinated school health approach and the whole child framework. ASCD and CDC developed this model in collaboration with key leaders from the field of health, public health, education, and school health to strengthen a unified and collaborative approach to learning and health. The new model corresponds to the call for greater alignment, integration, and collaboration between education and health to improve the development of children and adolescents. Next slide. As I just showed you in the whole school, whole community, whole child model, there is evidence that indicates that education and health for students must go hand in hand in order for students to succeed. It's clear that student success in schools is much more than just academics. Two concrete school health practices known to influence academic achievement include offering healthy food options and providing opportunities for students to be physically active. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Next slide. So for the rest of the presentation, I will give you the information you need to share the evidence about the link between healthy eating, physical activity, and improved academic achievement. I will identify core and audience-specific messages about the importance of addressing student health that you can share with folks in your schools and communities. And finally, when you get the buy-in from folks in your school and community, you need to be ready with clear actions that they can take to support healthy eating and activities in schools. So we're going to cover all three of these aspects. Next slide. So as I just mentioned, the first step is making the case for addressing healthy eating and physical activities in schools. This is to know the evidence that supports the link between these behaviors and academic achievement. Next slide. Before we dive into the evidence, I want to be clear on how we define academic achievement. Academic achievement consists of the following three aspects: academic performance, which includes class grades, standardized test scores, and graduation rates. Education behavior includes attendance, dropout rates, and behavioral problems at school. And finally, students' cognitive skills and attitudes, which includes concentration, memory, and mood. Next slide. This table identifies dietary practices or issues that are related to the three aspects of academic achievement I just defined for you. What we know from the literature is that there are 5 dietary practices or issues associated with academic achievement that you see here on the left side of the table. Evidence shows that students participating in the USDA school breakfast program perform and behave better in school. Studies have also shown that skipping breakfast, not eating specific foods such as fruits, vegetables, or dairy products, not consuming specific nutrients such as vitamins A, B, C, and calcium, and kids who are hungry from a lack of or from insufficient food intake can have a negative impact on academic achievement. In the table, you can see specifically what academic achievement outcomes have been associated with these different practices, dietary practices or issues. Next slide. Also, data from the 2009 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, known as the YRBS, shows us the association between drinking soda or pop and students' grades. The data indicate that 22% of high school students with mostly A's drink a can, bottle, or glass of soda or pop at least one time per day, and 47% of high school students with most E's and F's did the same. So to say it another way, of the students who drank soda or pop at least once a day. More earn B's and F's than A's. It is important to note that the evidence both in the table and in this graph documents there is research showing a clear association between these dietary practices or issues and academic achievement. Not that these dietary practices or issues cause these academic outcomes. It's about associations, not cause and effect. So from a research perspective, we want to continue to see more and stronger studies replicating these findings. And from a practitioner standpoint, it is important to know what dietary practices or issues are associated with academic achievement so that we can garner support to address these in school. Next slide. Now we're going to take a closer look at the evidence for 6 physical activity practices that are linked to different aspects of academic achievement. In general, we know that students who are physically active tend to have better grades, school attendance, cognitive performance, and classroom behaviors. We also know students with higher physical activity and fitness and physical fitness levels can concentrate better and have increased memory. Evidence shows that students who participate more in physical education class, spend time in recess, are given brief classroom physical activity breaks up to 5 to 10 minutes, and participate in extracurricular physical activities, perform and behave better in school. We also found that increasing or maintaining time for physical education does not appear to negatively impact academic achievement. Next slide. Looking at more data from the 2009 YRBS, we found that 33% of high school students with mostly A's did not play on at least one sports team run by their school or community groups, and 60% of high school students with mostly D's and F's did not participate. What this shows is that for students involved in extracurricular activities such as playing on a sports team, it's linked to better grades. And again, I want to say that these findings are associations. And from a research perspective, we want to continue to see more and stronger studies replicating these findings. And again, from a practitioner standpoint, we need to be clear what physical activity practices affect academic achievement in order to get support to address these in schools. I'm going to pause here and do our first poll.
Yeah, thank you. Before I do the poll, I do want to remind those that came on a little bit after we started that the call is being recorded. You will receive the slide presentations. You will receive the recording of the session, as well as many of the resources that will be mentioned throughout today's call. Seeing a lot of questions come across the question board about that, so I did want to remind folks of that again. So just sit back and relax. We'll take a pause for a polling question. We want to find out from you a little bit of information. So if you can take a few seconds on your screen, literally answer the question, who do you plan to share this evidence with? I'm going to give you just a couple of more seconds. Great, and I'm going to close the poll. Thanks so much for providing some information with us, for us. Shannon, I'm going to turn it back over to you to continue sharing the message.
Great. Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to ask that polling question is that while we just presented this evidence, it might not be in the right format. So, and when I say that is that now that you have a better sense of the evidence, the next step is to use it to support the messages you share with others. This could be someone from the state, school district, or school, as well as parents and students. You also want to share with these different audiences how it personally benefits them to address healthy eating and physical activity in schools. So great, we're at the core messages slide. From the evidence I just shared, we have identified 4 broad messages that we want shared in every state, district, and school. The purpose of having these core messages is so that we can have a consistent voice about the connection between health and academic achievement. The first message is that healthy students are better learners. Healthy students are better on all levels of academic achievement, academic performance, educational behavior, and cognitive skills and attitudes. The support for this statement comes from the tables I just went over with you a few minutes ago. The second message is that schools can influence eating and physical activity behaviors. We can reach more than 95% of young people in the U.S. through schools for about 13 years of their life. That's a long time for them to pick up healthy behaviors. We know that students may eat up to 2 meals per day at school and get much of their physical activity at school through physical education and recess. The third message is that healthy, successful students build strong communities. We know that investing in the health of students contributes to healthy communities in the future. And the last message is that all students deserve the opportunity to be healthy and successful. Providing access to healthy foods and physical activity plays an important role in the academic achievement of the students. Next slide. In addition to the core messages, we've identified audience-specific messages for states, school districts, schools, parents, and even students that explain how they can benefit if they support healthy eating and physical activity in their school. The goal of the audience-specific messages is to resonate with the audience core values. You want to combine the core messages with the audience-specific messages when communicating to specific audiences. So for example, if you were talking with someone in a school, you might say to them, providing students with healthy foods and opportunities to be physically active throughout the school day help them to be healthier and better learners. This could also help decrease your school's rates of student absenteeism and help increase school-wide test scores and grades. Again, we're going with the general, but also being very specific of what's important to them. Next slide. So I have a very important question to ask for you. Can you help us share these messages? If so, we are asking you to consistently share the evidence, key messages, and benefits with your stakeholders. We want these messages shared in conversations you have, PowerPoint presentations you present, or slides you present, webinars you give, meetings you attend, web content you post, emails you send, newsletters you print, and any other print documents you develop. We want these messages integrated into the work that we do. It becomes part of the conversation. It becomes part of us having that consistent voice. We also want the topic of health and academic achievement included in professional development. Many school administrators and classroom teachers have not learned about the evidence or benefits of addressing healthy eating and physical activity in schools. This would be an opportunity to not only share the evidence and messages, but also ask them to take action. We also want you to ask parents to support and promote healthy eating and physical activity as a way to improve academic achievement. Parents are great advocates and could create awareness among other parents. And finally, many schools have implemented healthy eating and physical activity policies and practices that have made a difference in their students' academic achievement outcomes. Identifying and sharing these stories could garner support in the school community to address these health behaviors issues in the school. I've just highlighted 4 possible ways to share the evidence and key messages. Again, the goal is for stakeholders to take action. But to get them to that point, we need to make a strong case for why they need to be involved. We hope that the evidence and key messages will get their attention. Next slide. Once you get their attention or their buy-in, we also need to be clear on what folks can do. That is, what actions can they take? Next slide. We need everyone involved to make a difference. That includes states, school districts, schools, parents, and students. All of them play a key role in making sure that health is addressed in schools. Next slide. There are several types of actions that can be implemented or supported. These actions include establishing an agenda to support health in schools. This needs to happen nationally as well as the state, district, and school level. Developing and implementing key policies for school health, particularly related to healthy eating and physical activity. Again, this needs to happen at all levels. Providing appropriate guidance. The CDC funds all 50 states through the State Public Health Actions Program to support the policy development, technical assistance, professional development, and programs and practices related to healthy eating and physical activity. I encourage you to find out what's happening in your state and see how you can support or plug into these current efforts. At the school building level, we need to be implementing effective, high-quality programs and practices that are based on the science. I highly encourage you to look at CDC's school health guidelines. We outline what strategies and practices should be in place for healthy eating and physical activity. And finally, ensuring accountability supported by data and software systems. You want to document what you're doing so you can understand and describe the programs you're offering in the school, plan for other programs and activities, and improve your current programs. I just gave you a brief summary of the types of actions to consider. But in CDC's new resource on health and academic achievement, we identify key actions that can be taken by states, school districts, schools, parents, and students. I encourage you to take a look at that document when you have some time. Next slide. Okay, so what resources are available to you from CDC? Next slide. CDC has a web page on health and academics. On the page, you can find fact sheets and presentations on the link between health behaviors and academic grades, as well as other reports documenting the connection between health and academic achievement. Next slide. These are the CDC fact sheets. There are a total of 6 fact sheets. There's one overview fact sheet, and the others address specific health risk behaviors, including physical inactivity and unhealthy dietary behaviors. Next slide. Here's our new resources. So CDC has released 2 new resources for health and academic achievement. These include a health and academic achievement overview document. And it really aligns with this presentation. The purpose of the document is for you to become familiar with the evidence linking physical activity, healthy eating, and improved academic achievement. It also identifies the core and audience-specific messages and shares with you specifically what those messages should be for folks at the state level, the school district level, schools, parents, and students. It identifies actions for each of these groups, and then also provides some additional resources for you to look at. Now, this PowerPoint presentation that I just went over is also available online, which aligns with the overview document. So the overview document gives you so much more in terms of detail. But again, the PowerPoint slides are available with talking points. I didn't include all the slides, but at least it gives you a sense of what's available. And in the very near future, we will have 2 podcasts, one on healthy eating and academic achievement, and the other one on physical activity and academic achievement. They'll be about 1 minute in length and easy to share by text or email with parents or other key audiences. So next slide, and thank you for letting me share this information today. Now I will like to turn it back to Amy.
Great, thank you so much, Shannon. Now I'd like to talk a little bit more about the conflicting messages that you see within schools and how to address some of the concerns that you may get as you start to make the case for school wellness in your school. First, I want to give you a little bit of background on Action for Healthy Kids. You can see on this slide that we are designed and organized to help fight childhood obesity and undernourishment and physical inactivity in schools. In particular, we are a group of moms, dads, teachers, students, school and community leaders, and school wellness experts who have banded together to create healthier learning environments for our children. We're a volunteer-based organization. So we believe that everyone has a part to play in ending the nation's childhood obesity epidemic. And our programs, tools, and resources can help you make that possible. Our goal is to help create an environment where children are able to not only learn how to make healthy choices, but can apply and practice those healthy choices from the minute they walk into the front door of the school to the minute they leave at the end of the day. So again, what I want to cover real quickly, the conflicting messages that you can see at a school or in a school from a student's perspective, and then also really focus a lot on how you can address the concerns you may encounter when you're making the case for school health. Now, I know the audience varies pretty significantly on today's call. Some of you are parents and community members. Some of you have been in this field for a very long time. I do want to cover this information because it is important for those individuals that are coming new to this area. I want to first look at the conflicting messages. How are students, as they make their way through the school day, what are they seeing? We're going to take a few minutes to look at that school culture and really start to see that they might see some contradicting messages as they go throughout their school day. So in class, students learn about nutrition, they learn about healthy eating, and the importance of moderation. However, in some classrooms, students can get over 25 birthday treats a year. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition, Education, and Behavior revealed that kids can eat as many as 1/3 of all the calories they need in a day at a typical 30-minute birthday party at one school day. They may see this too. Parents groups are so important to help the school run effectively and efficiently, but there can be some contradiction within PTO, PTA calendars here too. Here's an example. You may see that on October 17th, the PTO organizes a healthy fun run for the community and for the students. They may follow it up with a family fundraiser at a specific fast food joint. The TV turnoff week may be celebrated with a pancake party. So those kinds of conflicting messages can really be confusing to students. Moving on, parent groups can also play a large role in choosing and running fundraisers which can support sports, music, technology, the arts. But what do those fundraisers consist of? Are they restaurant nights? Or do they sell seed packets for gardens? Are they fruit? Or are they candy sales? Do they also support health and academic achievement? What about family events? Do your family events promote health and academic achievement? Now, we're really looking at all the different aspects you can, all the different activities and events where you engage family and community members and students themselves. Do you offer muffins with moms or donuts with dads? And can you change those traditions so that they're a little bit more health promoting? On the physical activity side of things, we know that students learn about the importance of physical activity and how to implement it in their life to be healthy. Yet recess time in a lot of communities is shrinking to make more room for academics. Recess may also be taken away for disciplinary purposes, for kids that act up, and oftentimes those are the kids who really need recess the most. We know that daily physical education, once a routine in all schools across the country, K through 12, is now offered in less than 10% of public schools. We need to rescue PE and rescue recess. So as your role as a wellness advocate, it's really important to point out these contrasts to your audience. How can a student who learns about nutrition and physical activity in the classroom, how can they be confused by some of the messages they're seeing in the hallway? And how can you, as an advocate for health and wellness, ensure that the messages are consistent from the classroom to the hallway to the cafeteria to the playground and everywhere in between? So really be thinking about some of those particular actions as you make your case for school wellness. A lot of those changes that I just mentioned are very easy to make within your school day and within your school community. Now that you know the facts and you've seen how the messages can be conflicting in schools, and perhaps you're starting to mentally put together your case for school health and programming in your community, maybe you've even scheduled a meeting with your principal, you're likely to hear some additional questions and concerns about what you want to do and how it will get done. So over the years, we've listened to those concerns, and we've compiled a list of the top 7 that you may hear. And we're going to help you prepare your answers for them. Before we get into that, I did want to point out to you a resource that we've developed at Action for Healthy Kids. It's called the Learning Connection Report, what you need to know to ensure your kids are healthy and ready to learn. It's a great resource to help you make the connection between physical activity, healthy eating, and learning. It particularly focuses on parents, so as you gather your data, as you compile your case statement, if you will, to support health and wellness initiatives in your school. This connection really helps boil down some of the research that Shannon was covering and helps to put it into some context. So concern number one, again, we've compiled these concerns over the last 10 years. What we've heard from audience members, much like yourself, first is that we're too busy. How do we fit these wellness projects in? So here's a response. School leaders may agree school wellness is important, but say to you that they don't have time or resources to commit to it. If you plan to do most of the work along with the school health team or wellness committee, reassure your school leaders that you're not asking for a large time commitment from them. The biggest thing you'll need from them is their support and their sign-off, and the payoff will be worth it. So in other words, find your group of champions in your school to do the bulk of the work, and have the principal or vice principal or assistant principal help support your work, but don't ask them for much time commitment. Concern number two, shouldn't we be focusing on academics? With increasing academic pressures and competing priorities, teachers and administrators are very worried that wellness efforts will take away time in academics. We know recess is cut. We know that art and music classes are being cut for this reason. Let them know that there are plenty of ways that physical activity and nutrition education can be integrated into the classroom through brain breaks, active academics, energizers, several programs that are out there. And gently remind them that study after study, all of the research that Shannon walked through shows that healthy kids focus better and learn better in the classroom. They're more fit, they're more ready to learn. So here's a good example of from Gunnison, Colorado. Gunnison Elementary won a state-level Healthy Champion Award in 2012. The school describes their program as a high-functioning, best practices-driven, creative, effective, and fun coordinated school health program. As you can see from the quote on the slide, they believe that increases in test scores and attendance have a strong connection to their health and wellness program. So they're really making it happen at Gunnison Elementary in Colorado. Concern number three. It's not the school's job to teach healthy habits. Isn't that the parent's job? Remind whoever it is that asked this question that it is the school's job to maximize student performance. And studies show that healthy habits lead to increased academic success. So right back to all the research that Shannon mentioned. No one is asking for or expects schools to solve the childhood obesity epidemic alone. There are many forces at work to help kids become fit and healthy, including physicians, parents, community, and even what you do at home. But schools can play a vital role in completing that puzzle for all the reasons we've already talked about. And of course, again, it goes to support academic achievement. Concern number four, the Cupcake Wars. We don't want to break with our school traditions. If school traditions have a negative impact on academic performance and student health and are teaching our kids unhealthy habits, it may be time to create new traditions. And that's kind of harsh, but it may very well be a fact. When schools began having ice cream parties 20 years ago, chances are that the kids had a lot more opportunities to be physically active over the course of the school day and before and after school. Not only are many of today's children overfed and undernourished, very few of them are getting the recommended 60 minutes of physical activity every single day. So we've added calories and taken away exercise in some cases, which can definitely be a major contributor to the obesity epidemic. So really figure out ways that you can change some of your school traditions if they aren't necessarily health promoting. Issue number five, kids like what we're serving them now. We don't want to change. Kids like a lot of things that we don't offer them because of the negative consequences. They like to ride their bikes without their helmets. They like to stay home from school. They'll sit in front of the TV for hours. As they get older, they start wanting to, then they're curious about tobacco and alcohol and all those kinds of things. Sometimes it can be hard to remember that kids are not in charge for a reason. Parents are. It takes time and patience and multiple attempts serving new foods or having different programs that promote physical activity, but it's well worth it. Here's a good example from a school in Georgia. A school in Georgia used to have, instead of classroom parties, birthday parties, as students had birthdays, they had a school-wide celebration. And they would bring in cupcakes and cookies and cakes for that once-a-month school-wide celebration to celebrate birthdays. What they decided to do once they got engaged in health and wellness initiatives is instead of serving cookies and cake and cupcakes for those once-a-month birthday celebrations, they decided to make it an open gym. So they allowed the students to go into the gym, utilize all the physical education equipment, recess equipment, and the playgrounds. The kids never once asked for their cake and their cookies and their ice cream. They were very much happy with the open gym policy. So again, small changes can make a significant difference. Concern number 6, what if parents are concerned that we're removing foods that are an important part of our heritage? Culture change is hard, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. We're not suggesting here that any heritage should be discarded, should be discarding its traditions in every setting all of the time. But we do encourage healthier foods to be offered on a limited basis and possibly not in the school setting. If foods are served and shared at school as healthy options, then parents can be more comfortable offering occasional treats at home because they know they have more control over the timing and the quantity of those particular items and can keep moderation as a guiding principle. And then lastly, our current budget is stretched so thin. How will we fund these health and wellness initiatives? There's no question that budgets are tight and schools don't want any unfunded mandates. Creating a healthy school culture takes time, it takes patience, it takes creativity and perseverance. For some projects, funding is necessary. If you wanted to build a new playground or if you wanted to implement some specific nutrition education. But other projects don't require funding, like some of those change in the family types of events or changing some of your fundraiser options may not take a lot of funding. Or some of them don't have to be done all at once. You can stretch them out over multiple years. There are lots of frequent grant opportunities out there. Actually, Rowley Kids has many, GenYouth has some as well that Lorraine will talk about here in a minute. So there's lots of opportunities to work on health and wellness initiatives without the need for a significant amount of funding. So hopefully we've helped address some of the 7 major concerns or questions that you may get as you help to build your case on school health and wellness. Go to actionforhealthykids.org for more information. Again, we will be able to send out follow-up details highlighting specific resources and our follow-up message to you for this webinar. So I'd like to now turn it over to Lorraine Bandelli, who will talk through the resources through the GENYOUth Foundation.
Hi everyone, and I'm going to take it right to our next slide and give you a little bit of background on who GENYOUth is. So GENYOUth Foundation was launched in 2010, the result of an unprecedented partnership between the National Dairy Council, funded by America's 50,000 dairy farm families, and the National Football League. So these 2 organizations recognize then and now the importance of bringing leaders in health, education, government, and business together in a movement to help America's youth achieve a healthier future and to raise funds to help make that happen. At our inception, we signed a 6-way memorandum of understanding between the National Dairy Council, NFL, U.S. Departments of Agriculture, Department of Education, and Health and Human Services. All parties re-signed this past December for 5 more years of programming. I'll take you to the next slide, which highlights one of our big reports. So this is in alignment with our mission and partners, which is on the previous slide. So in 2013, we published this issue framing report, The Wellness Impact, Enhancing Academic Success Through Healthy School Environments. So this helps stimulate discussion around and draw attention to the now undisputed link that both Shannon and Amy spoke about, the link between nutrition, physical activity, and academics. So in addition to sharing evidence and messages and actions that can be taken, this report challenges everyone to think, what can I do? So everyone from students to schools to businesses to community members. On the next slide, you'll see just a few quick highlights from the Wellness Impact Report, which can be found on our website, and I'll quickly go through them. We've touched on all of these, both Shannon and Amy, already. So you know that schools play a critical role in ensuring the healthy environment that learning requires. So a broad range of critical societal conditions, from workplace preparedness to military readiness, depend on the effectiveness of our schools when it comes to wellness. Secondly, in the Wellness Impact, we talk about the crisis of physical inactivity in this country as we focus more on academic achievement. Oftentimes, physical education and physical activity in the schools is eliminated or curtailed because of focus on academics, when in fact we now have the evidence that shows that keeping physical activity in schools can only help academics. Third, we have breakfast as a key issue when it comes to nutrition. It's an easy, cost-effective way that schools can improve student wellness. It's not the only way when it comes to nutrition, but as mentioned, it's easy and cost-effective. Fourth, you'll see the cost will amount for ignoring school wellness. So we know that everyone pays when it comes to ignoring physical activity and breakfast in schools. So that could be students when it comes to physical health. That could be businesses in the long run with health care and their future employees, and the list goes on and on. But most importantly, I'd like to highlight this last point, which is that the Wellness Impact really highlights that cultures of wellness in schools, meaning environments in which every child can access good nutrition and regular physical activity, are in fact achievable. And if we don't believe it, no one will. So that's why we're here today talking about the messages and the actions that we can take to improve the environment in schools. So on the next slide, you'll just see very briefly that we have a number of different versions of the Wellness Impact. There's a version for parents, a version for students even, a version for schools and administrators. So I urge you to check out our website and check out those versions of the Wellness Impact, as well as some other publications we have on there. And on the next slide, I'll get into some of the action that we're taking around this link between nutrition, physical activity, and academic achievement. So our Fuel Up to Place 60 slide, we have, here we go. So Fuel Up to Place 60 is the nation's largest in-school nutrition and physical activity program. We reach about 73,000 schools that enroll about 38 million students. In the past 4 years, we've given about $15 million in grants to boost implementation of the program. And the main goals of the program is to involve the whole school in creating a culture of wellness. So that's increasing access to healthy foods and physical activity and influencing behavior to eat healthier and get at least 60 minutes of physical activity every day. We take a lot of pride in students taking a lead role in identifying and implementing positive in-school changes, as well as program advisors, and that can be any adult in the school building. There's also a key resource known as the Fuel Up to Place 60 Playbook of school-tested healthy eating and physical activity action strategies that can be adapted to fit any school's schedule or culture. So Fuel Up to Place 60 also offers the high-energy excitement of NFL prizes, etc. And the best part of all is that it's free. So on the next slide, you'll see the Fuel Up to Place 60 website, where you can access as a student, a supporter, or an educator. Once again, this is a free resource to anyone, and students and especially educators can take this as far as they want online and in school. Moving on to our next slide, we have another way that we take action at GenYouth. So in the past 3 years, we've done 2 summits, 3 national leadership roundtables, and 6 regional town halls. And we have plans to continue these great convenings that we've started. So at these convenings, we bring together unlikely partners. So leaders and practitioners in the field, both local and national, as well as government partners, health and wellness professionals, nonprofit professionals, leaders in education, leaders in business, and as always, we have students at the table. So at these events, we highlight and engage and elevate the dialogue around the link between nutrition, physical activity, and academics. We brainstorm ideas to address issues. Just like Amy was saying, we address conflicting messages when it comes to spending time on nutrition and physical activity in schools. We also generate calls to action and inspire action from all of our partners and all of the stakeholders. So moving on to the next slide, some more action that we take is around national campaigns where you all can actually plug in. So next month I'll highlight our newest campaign, which is in partnership with Fuel Up the 360, Quaker, Let's Move Active Schools, Nickelodeon, etc. We have the campaign called For the Love of Play, which encourages kids and the adults that care about them to get up and get active for 60 minutes of play a day, at school, at home, and everywhere in between. The goals of this campaign, which runs from September 9th to October 17th of this coming school year, and you'll find more information coming soon on the Fuel Up the 360 website, are to create a movement to drive awareness and build support of the link between physical activity and academic achievement, and engage and mobilize parents, students, teachers, schools, and community members to participate and support the campaign at school and at home. So finally, on my last slide, I'll just briefly mention that GENYOUth just released our first progress report highlighting some of the achievements that we've accomplished over the past 3 years and giving some direction to where we're headed in the future. So we definitely want to keep spreading the health and academic message. We want to keep taking action with the program and with the convenings, and we want to keep inspiring action through all of these things. Of course, there are definitely gaps, and sometimes the gaps depend on the audience. So sometimes you have a gap in awareness, sometimes you have a gap in funding, sometimes you have a gap in volunteers or people, and sometimes you have a gap in leadership. And one way to start addressing these gaps is to start the conversation or to continue it. So I'll leave you with that as I turn it back over to Amy for our last polling question.
Great. Thanks so much, Lorraine. Thanks so much, Shannon, for all the great information. Before we start taking your questions, we do have one more question for you. After hearing about the evidence, the key messages, and the take action steps, do you feel you can explain the evidence to others, share the key messages to others, or take specific actions in schools? And you have multiple choice here, so you can select multiple answers. Give you just 2 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. Share with you the results real fast. You can see here the vast majority of people do plan on sharing the key messages with others. We've got 70% of you that will explain the evidence to others, and just under 50% of you that will be taking specific actions in schools. Thank you so much for sharing that information with us. Okay, now I'm going to introduce another one of our staffers here at Action for Healthy Kids. Her name is Jill Kamer-Davidson. She is our school nutrition manager, and she's going to help us facilitate some of your questions. So Jill, I'm going to turn it over to you. Jill, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Sorry about that. Thank you, Amy. And I just want to address a couple of the themes that are coming through with the questions. And while I am doing this, please continue to send your questions in through the chat box. First of all, the webinar is being recorded, and a link to the webinar, which will include the slides, will be sent to all the registrants after we are concluded. In addition, a certificate of attendance and links to the resources will be sent out as well, so you will get that information, since several of you have asked about that. So first off, in terms of questions, a couple of things came through about the research that was shared, Shannon. So first of all, can you tell us if there is any specific research on the type of physical activity that has the greatest influence on academics and behavior? For example, do you know if it's aerobic, anaerobic, flexibility, or some skill activity? Any research that you're aware of?
That has a specific impact on academic achievement. Which one's better? Is that what I just want to clarify?
Right, right. If there's anything in particular.
I really want to stick with the table that was presented earlier. And again, if the folks go to the resource the new resource that we've developed on the relationship between health and academic achievement, it outlines clearly 6 types of or 6 physical activity practices in the school. And when I say that, meaning there's not one that's better. It's again, we would have to really look very closely at the caliber of research. But I think what we can say is that these six practices, so students just being physically active, participating in more of the education, having recess, having these activity breaks in the classroom, and being engaged in extracurricular activities such as interscholastic sports have this association with academic achievement. And I can't really say if one's better than the other. It's just because there are associations. It's not a cause and effect. And so I just want to, I would just say that those are the 6, if we look at the literature and we comb through the literature, those are the six practices that seem to come up and have been researched.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shannon. A question for you, Lorraine. Will GENYouth have a summit this year?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's definitely a Student Ambassador Summit every year for students, and program advisors have a role in that as well. In terms of a national convening of all of the thought leaders around this topic, we just had one in Dallas this past July, and we look forward to one possibly in another 2 years, or a little less than 2 years now.
All right. A question that maybe both of you, Lorraine and Shannon, can answer. I'm looking for education resources for families of severe poverty who cannot access healthy nutrition. Do you know of any resources in education to help them out?
That's a really good question. There's nothing that really pops into my mind in terms of a specific resource.
I'm going to throw something out there that may be consideration for school staff who work in high poverty schools, and that is the team nutrition resources from USDA. There is a lot of free curriculum and information out there that you can use. And if your state has a cooperative extension, some of the extension agents are able to work in schools that are high poverty and help out with nutrition education, so that might be helpful as well. There's some things that come to mind for some resources.
And I'll throw out there that your local dairy council will oftentimes have free resources available, nutrition education resources. So they might be a good contact for you locally, in addition to the 2 that Jill mentioned.
A question here that came out, another one, is talking about all the conflicting messages, and this would be something, I think, Amy, if you could, from your experience, any other names besides muffin for mom and donuts for dad? Do we have any other creative names that you've seen out there?
I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank on the names right now. I have seen some pretty creative names. Breakfast with Buddies is one that's coming up with, that I'm coming up with. Fruit with Your Fathers is another one that I've seen. I'm drawing a blank on the ones that I've seen for moms, but those are a couple of the ideas that I've seen that have worked well. Do any of the other speakers have one for moms?
I don't.
Yeah, we're coming up. We might have to think about that one, but I think it leaves for a lot of room with creativity. You know, it depends on your mascot. Hopefully your mascot starts with an M, and you can say Mighty Warriors Moms or something along those lines. But there are certainly lots of opportunities to be creative with the different names for your activities as you work through your school year.
And then several questions came through that I think Lorraine and Amy can help us with, looking at grant opportunities. So whether it would be learning about success stories in public schools or just grant resources that public schools can apply for, teachers can apply for. I'm going to go to you, Lorraine. Any grants that come to mind or resources that may help get some grants, find some grants?
Yes, so any adult in the school building can sign up at fueluptoplace60.com to become a program advisor. It doesn't take much, and you can do what you want with it. But when you're a program advisor, you can apply for grant funding. We have a cycle coming up this fall for funding in the spring, any nutrition plus physical activity projects. So it's an open application to any school in the United States. Students can even have their program advisors out with ideas. And even there are, through GENYOUth Foundation, other programs such as the Venture Capital where students can submit their own ideas for funding in their school.
And Amy, any that come to mind?
Yeah, Action for Healthy Kids. Yeah, we do offer grants as well, very similar in nature as the GENYOUth Foundation. So it's just another great resources. If you go to our website, actionforhealthykids.org, you can see a link to our school grants. And we do actually have grants available right now that focus on the breakfast program in your school. So as Shannon and Lorraine both indicated, breakfast is a critical component to helping get kids started off with a healthy meal to nourish their brains and bodies. There are breakfast grants that are available currently, so we're accepting applications now, and it could be up to $2,500. So take a look at our website and consider applying. I did want to mention, too, a thought about the Muffins for Moms. What I have seen, I haven't necessarily seen a change in the Muffins for Moms name, but I've seen a lot of schools make them healthier. So they're not offering the very large muffins. They're offering the smaller bite-sized muffins with a large fruit tray. So they're making them a little bit more varied, and so they could be more health-promoting in that ways as well.
And this is great. Next, we have a few that came through with the questions: music with mom, get moving with mom, mommy and me and PE, smoothies at sunrise. So a lot of creative people out there that are sending in their ideas. Shannon, I'm going to go back to you. A question came out about the graph you showed with the soda. And their comment was that schools are considering bringing back diet soft drinks. Did the study that compared students' grades with soda look at diet drinks, or was all sugar sweetened, full calorie soda?
Right. It was sugar sweetened, so it did not include diet drinks in this graph, unfortunately. But I did also want to mention one other grant program. The Presidential Youth Fitness Program offers grants. I think that their 2015 cycle just ended, but again, for folks to look at it for 2016, I would keep, I think early or late, actually late spring. You'll want to check that out on the Presidential Youth Fitness Program site.
Great. And then a question that I'm going to start with Amy, and then I'll cycle through with Shannon and Lorraine. And this came out in many different formats of questions. How do we get our board, our principals, our parents to pay attention to the connection between healthy eating, physical activity, and academic achievement. Or another question came through the very same principle, how do I convince my principal to add more physical activity? How do I challenge my parents to embrace healthy fundraisers? So Amy, any thoughts in terms of quick ways to get others on board?
Oftentimes it starts with a champion, and that champion needs to be willing to make individual calls to some other individuals in the school community. If you want to start with parents, especially those that are interested in health and wellness, maybe they like to do the local 5Ks or are very engaged in yoga or are passionate healthy eaters themselves, they can oftentimes serve as another champion for you in your school community. If you get 3 to 4 parents together that really have an interest, that's when your principal and your administration may find that it's a bigger priority and listen to you more carefully. So again, kind of going back to those concerns, find your champions, but also help your administrators understand that it supports academic achievement, it supports the very mission that the school is trying to accomplish, and that all you're looking for is their support, and you are going to do a lot of the back-end work to make it successful.
And Shannon, any thoughts that you may have for building that support?
I agree wholeheartedly with Amy. The other thing, too, is that when presenting, so if you are a parent or if you're a teacher that's wanting a principal or a school administrator to support these activities, is really to go to, hopefully there is a school health council or a wellness committee or a subgroup in the PTA that addresses the health issues in the school, and to come together and put a presentation together for the principal. The other thing is to figure out what might, to talk to the principal or the other school administrators to figure out their values and what do they value in terms of physical activity and healthy eating, and figuring out if there's a way to connect to that, so that that would lead to them being motivated to make change in the school. And again, it's presenting the information. So again, the slides that I presented are available, and maybe it's not in the right format for you particularly, but you can pull and tailor it to meet the needs of your school and your immediate school community, and figuring out who's a dynamic speaker to share that information.
And Shannon, do you want to say again where those slides are located and people that are looking for them?
Yes, hopefully, Amy, you're going to send that information out to the folks that attended, but they are on the CDC's website. If you go to, I'm just trying to think, the Healthy Youth site, so it's www.cdc.gov/healthy-youth/health_and_academic, and you'll find all of the resources there.
And then we'll make sure we get that out to people after the webinar. And then, Lorraine, any further comments on getting people on board with the movement?
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely echo what Amy and Shannon said. And I'll just add that it's really as simple as starting the conversation sometimes or keeping it going. So having one champion, building that to a team, whether it's an official wellness council or not, and also not forgetting to involve students. Students have great ideas, and contrary to popular belief sometimes, they do want to move more and eat better and be healthier and be a champion for that cause, just like we all do. So sometimes it just depends on the approach you take and giving them a little bit of responsibility to help you make those changes.
Great. Thank you so much, Lorraine. Shannon, thank you so much for all of the great expertise you both offered for today's session. I have a feeling that we've got a lot more questions to field through, but we are simply out of time for today. We will look through the themes and make sure that we address some of your questions in our follow-up email. Before we conclude today's session, I did want to point out that we are hosting a Twitter chat on October 24th from 2 to 3 p.m. Shannon, that's Eastern time, correct?
That is Eastern time, yes.
So, yeah, we'll get that information out to you. So stay tuned for more information. It's going to continue the conversation around health and academic achievement. Again, this call is being recorded. Be on the lookout for an email coming from Action for Healthy Kids. By the end of this week, you will receive the recording, you will receive the slides. So again, you can edit and maneuver the slides as you see fit. And you will also receive a link to the various resources we mentioned throughout today's session. So we really appreciate your time. Thanks to those of you that hung on with us for a few more minutes to get through some of the questions. We hope this has been a valuable session, and we look forward to touching base with you again in the future. Thank you again, and have a good afternoon.